And the show is yours, Coach.
All right. Well, thanks. I'll just jump right into it, and I'll time myself so I don't go get too long-winded. I know some of the football guys will tell you that I can get going on this stuff. Yeah, there's three sort of legs to this thing, and I think I'll go to that program manual on the second leg. But first, let me try to share my screen. Oh, Coach H, I think you need to help me out with that.
Yeah, I'm getting that. All right, give it a go now.
All right. All right, can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I'll get to the program manual stuff here probably second, but I was putting some of this stuff together, and I was just going to scroll through the program manual. That'd be fine, and a lot of this stuff sort of overlaps, but I took some of the things that sort of like Coach Hazelhorst has done with stuff from parent meetings and just sort of overview and stuff like that. So today I literally will try to go fast and try to give more of a skim surface overview as opposed to a deep dive. But the more I thought about it, I just thought about, obviously, we're not going to talk X's and O's on these things. It's more outside the lines, ideas, thoughts, philosophies of what we all do. So let me see. Okay. So the football guys who are on the Zoom today know that usually this is where we start. We start with what we call the box top. And this is just a visual representation of our vision, or I like Coach H's word of target. This is I like putting a picture to where we're trying to go with our program, and I tell parents and kids and whoever else will listen that our target, our vision, is to be a championship program. And in Nebraska high school football, all roads lead to Memorial Stadium, and that's where championship programs play. This thing has stretched more into the academic realm and the behavioral realm too. We want to be champions at everything that we do, but if I had to put a picture on it, we use Memorial Stadium. Okay, and then why is it on a box top of it looks like a puzzle box? Well, that's another metaphor, and it's one that I stole from Gary Barnett, who was the head coach at Northwestern, totally turned those guys around in the mid-'90s, doing things that people said could never be done. And he used a lot of symbolism and metaphor, but one thing that I really liked was he did something like this with the Rose Bowl, and he wanted everybody, their coaches, their secretaries, the equipment managers, everybody tied into, this is the vision of their program. And he used a puzzle box top. And the reason for that is when we open up a puzzle box, there's just chaos in there. All the puzzle pieces are all jumbled up, and we have no idea how to put them together. And if we tried just on our own, I mean, it would take a long, long time. So what do? The first thing that we do, we flip the box top back over, and we use that as our vision of how these pieces are supposed to fit together to get the result that we want. So this is the result that we want. This is the result that we're working towards. So that's what we're going to use when we try to put all these pieces together. And just like any sport, there's a lot of pieces that go into putting this thing together to get to your end goal. But back when we were kids, the first thing that we did, we'd look at the box top, and then we started putting a frame around it, because it's a lot easier to fill in the pieces in the middle if we got a good, strong border. And for us, there's four clear things that are super, super above all important to us. And the first thing is our youth. We go all in with our young kids growing up. We're very fortunate to have 3rd through 8th grade junior Titan football, and we got 1.5 middle schools that feed into us. So football is a numbers game. It's with the different stances on concussions and different things over the last couple of years, I think it's even more important for us to educate and get out in front of families and moms and dads and kids and talk to them about this thing. Then our strength and conditioning is one of those borders, and the other one, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's our offense, defense, and special teams schemes. And really, all four of these borders were already set in place before I took over as head coach. So these things are things that we did not want to mess with too much. We've tinkered a little bit here or there, as we're going to do every year, but the main core beliefs of it are in place. And then the top border is our coaching staff. You know, another thing that we haven't had to tinker with too much, and symbolically, it just sort of oversees everything else. And without a good coaching staff, there's no possible way that we could get to our target. So just like when you're putting a puzzle together, you know, you could have good, strong border, but does that guarantee you that you're gonna get your end result? And that answer is no. So there's a lot of more work that we have to do. And it goes, you know, I do a lot of reading and make a lot of connections. And right as the time when I was taking over as head coach, I was really involved in this book. And during the quarantine, I got back involved with it even more because, you know, here we are as a program, pretty good, you know, pretty, I would say, middle of the pack, slightly above middle of the pack at times. You know, we're beating the teams that we should, and then we're getting beat by the teams that we should get beat by. And so I definitely wanted to hear Jim Collins's thoughts on how to get a company, a team from good to great. And what I boiled down, his three things, my three takeaways was get the right people involved, get the right thinking involved, and get the right actions involved. Obviously not anything groundbreaking. I mean, very elementary, but I really liked how he put things together. I'll try to go a little faster here. So as far as people, and again, on all these, we didn't have, I wouldn't say we had terrible relations with people, people thinking or actions, but we weren't great at them. So the things that we did with parents, there's a laundry list of extra things that we did to communicate better with parents. One of the big ones was just the home visits that I did the first year and a half or so, and got away from it, and I regret that, and I want to get back into it. But and I could talk about that. That's a whole nother segment, but those have been really good. Relationships with our teaching staff, again, it wasn't horrible, but you know, I have a picture of a bridge up there because I want those bridges between parents, between teachers, between our junior Titans to be like rock solid, like absolutely no question. So we did stuff like the teacher of the game and different things with teachers. And then our junior Titans, again, we had great involvement, but I wanted it like a no-brainer type of thing. So we did some game day, call it game day experience, and each home game we bring another age group of junior Titans up to the game and take them on a tour of the building, and they meet with the coaching staff and really make a big deal of those guys being there. I think we had to change some things of our thinking a little bit. I think we had to re-recruit our hallways, and we still do. When I say that, I mean just get those right kids out, multi-sport kids who maybe used to play football back in the day. Get those guys back out. Our freshman football advisory was good. It still is good, but I think we needed to make some changes and really just to maximize on that. And Coach Hager and I have even done more things with it over the last couple of years. And then I think a huge game changer for us has been this mentoring program that we do with our youth kids and our high school kids. It's been really, really, really good. Obviously, for the young kids, we were all young kids once, and we all looked up to high school aged kids. So that was easy, but it's been really good for our high school kids to reach down to the younger levels. And I wanted to erase that of, no, you're not reaching down. You're investing in these kids who are coming up. And the way we set it up, and I could talk about it a little bit more when we get into the program manual, but we wanted to make it where the kids that our high school kids were mentoring, those kids were going to be incoming freshmen when our high school kids were incoming seniors. So they just sort of followed each other on this path. So when those young kids entered big, bad, scary high school their freshman year, and they're looking around and they don't know where the cafeteria is, they don't know where their locker is, at the very least, maybe they could pick out a senior football player that they could go and talk to and say, hey, you know, where's this class, or where's the gym, or whatever. Then our actions, again, they weren't horrible, but they weren't great either. We really wanted to infuse more enjoyment into this game. Football is a fun game, and we wanted to do that at practice, off-season, weights, stuff like that. We wanted kids to elevate their teammates, and there's a belief piece that we're still working on, I think, to get that to where we want it. So I think we just needed to be more intentional with our actions, and we've done that. So I guess I took you on a 3-year zoom forward of where we're at. So just because we take care of all that stuff, are those all the pieces? And I would still say no, we're not there yet. So this last part is just being intentional with our strategy. And we're not the only organization with core values. We don't do it just to put it on a poster or put it in a book and leave it on a shelf or something. It's stuff that we do believe in. When I talk to parents and kids, I'm not lying when I say, you know, I'm from this area. I grew up here, and not only are these, I guess, my personal core values, but these are the core values of the people who grew up here, who live here, whose, you know, generations have come through the Papillion-La Vista area. We value trust around here. We value improvement. We're tough. Accountability is important to us, and we have no quit attitudes. So, you know, I think, you know, the more I sell that, and the more I think the kids and the parents are believing in that I just didn't scrawl these on the back of an envelope just because it spells out Titan. I really do believe that our school believes in this stuff. People around our community believes in this stuff. So even if a kid moved in from a different part of Omaha or a different state, I think they believe that yeah, our community believes in these things, and so it's not just something off the top of Coach Clem's head. Try to go a little faster as far as our coaching philosophy. It's there. I'm not going to go through it, but to me, I like the graphic because it starts with our values, and we can't do something. We can't focus on pursuing excellence until you know, our core values are in place. Then we focus on relationships. Then we communicate the vision. Then we invest in preparation, and then we can focus on pursuing excellence. Don't have a lot of rules in our program. I would call them expectations. I would call them, what we call them with our kids, we call them our code. And I stole that from somebody a while ago, and we're not really there yet. I want to get there to where our kids like just really believe in, and they sort of place themselves about this brotherhood of, man, this is our code. This is who we are, and this is what we're about. So I give our coaches free rein to definitely redirect a kid, coach a kid up, holler at a kid if they need to, but they should tie it into one of these 4 things. If a kid's messing up, he's probably not doing his job, and or he's probably not paying attention to details, and or he's probably not putting the team first, and or he's probably not working hard. So these 4 things I've found can really – they're like sort of a shortcut into, instead of just hollering at a kid and getting on his case. I mean, I'm not against that, but tie it into why, like, you're not doing your job right now, or you're not putting the team first right now. And this is why this is a problem. This is why we need to fix this. And we could have put our mission anywhere throughout this thing, but, you know, our mission, I like, instead, you know, everybody's got a mission statement. I like saying that we're on a mission, you know, and we're on a mission to build champions in the classroom, in the community, and on the football field. To to me, that's a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more proactive. And another way that we say, classroom, community, and field is just through academics, adolescence, and athletics. So we got a ways to go a little bit with academics. It has improved over the last few years, but there's still some things that we definitely need to improve. Adolescence is really all this other outside the line stuff that we do, the mentoring stuff. It's the adolescence part is helping a kid grow into be a productive young man, maturity wise, fill in those gaps that his parents and the rest of his family can't provide. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. And then the athletics part that's the X's and O's. So because we did all that stuff, does that guarantee that we're gonna get down to Memorial Stadium? I wish it did. However, it does not. But it does give us a chance, and it gives us the best chance, I believe. A lot of other really good schools are doing a lot of these similar things in their own regard, and we got to understand that. So that means that we got to figure out what pieces go where to get us down there. And I think we're getting closer. We're definitely getting closer as a program. And I don't know. I think that's one thing that I believe in. I think our kids are believing in it. Our parents are believing in it. I've already talked for 16 minutes. I didn't even get to the other two things, and that's okay. I'm going to shut up because I don't want to drone on and on about this stuff. But really, the program manual that I sent out goes into that stuff a lot more in detail. So you'll be able to look through that if you really want to. I can send out that PowerPoint that I just went through, and I can also share, if you're interested. The third thing I was going to share was some coaches have asked about. No, that's not it. Some coaches have asked about like an end of the year survey that we do with our kids and our coaches. And I was going to use that just for some quick hitters of some things that we do in regards to team chemistry, our mentoring system, building for the future, and community relations and stuff like that. So I got some pictures, and what I had our kids and coaches do, I had them go through this and rank in their own eyes effectiveness, if they thought. So every year in January, we take our kids to Papio Bowl. And if I was getting ones and twos on that, if kids and coaches thought that was stupid and not effective, then we would delete it or improve it or use that money somewhere else. But I don't know if we got, and maybe I'm bragging a little bit, I guess, but like I didn't get too many ones and twos on any of this stuff. And a lot of it is stuff that our kids and our coaches believe in. They think it's good stuff. It costs money, it costs time, it costs energy. But it's what, I don't know, it's what's important to our kids nowadays. 2020 is a lot different than when we were in high school. There's some reasons for all that, I guess, but I think we've come to a point where we embrace just the differences in how things are. And we're trying to use those things as advantages. So a good case in point here is our youth. So I could try to find a way out of how to. I think I could share that somehow. So those were the three things I was going to share, but I'm way over on time. So if anybody does have any questions, I'm more than happy to help. If you want to email or call or whatever, I can do it that way too.
Coach, I'd be curious to see that survey if you wouldn't mind pulling it up.
You bet. Let me share my screen again. Can you see it? Okay, so and I sort of went fast, but I broke it down into, I took our calendar and I broke down really week to week everything that we do. And I just sort of pieced it, I grouped them. Okay, team chemistry stuff, this is what we do. Our mentoring system, this is what we do. Building for the future, this is what we do. So I could go super fast. I could zoom through, but we go bowling at Papio Bowl in January. We try to support our scholarship winners on signing days as much as possible. We do a team retreat. We went to Peru State for 3 days in June last summer, and that was awesome. We do Titan Elite teams where we group our kids into strength and conditioning groups during the summer and award points and have fun with stuff that way. If we have a game day where there's no school, we bring the kids in for breakfast. We have freshman football advisory, give happy birthday shout outs on social media. We do a unity council where kids can talk about issues and things with amongst themselves. And last year was the first year that we had our seniors paint that T that has since gotten removed. And then we finished the year with a team banquet. So I just felt that those things sort of tie into team chemistry. A little bit more about our mentoring system. So we pair up our current 6th graders with our current 9th graders, and we take them to the Nebraska spring game, make a whole day out of it. We have a scavenger hunt, jump on a bus. We buddy kids up and get them in their jerseys, and it's been a really cool thing. Then when those kids turn 7th grade and 10th grade respectively, then we do a thing for the last 3 years on the night of the Super Bowl. We'll go to Papio Middle School, project the Super Bowl on the wall. We'll have a bunch of food. We'll have a Madden video game tournament on a different wall with a different projector, roll out the basketballs, and just have a good time. So when they're 8th graders and 11th graders, there's been some hiccups on some things that we wanted to do, and again, that's another conversation for another day. One thing that we do with our 11th graders is get them out and get them back to their elementary schools on Read Across America Day in March, and it's a cool experience for everybody. Their former teachers love seeing them. All these kids look up to high school kids, and it's a good opportunity for those kids to give back. I can keep going. I'll go faster. We do a spring academy, our youth camp in July. Both those things are huge for skill development and just relationships and parents and stuff like that. Already talked about the game day experience. Titans of Tomorrow, you guys do that stuff too. It's good. This commitment day is something that we started, I think, 2 years ago, and it's been a big success. We don't call it signing day. We call it commitment day because we have the kids sit down and we don't force them, but we go through our core values and our code and all that stuff. And we ask them if this is something that they want to commit to come on up and sign their name. And we keep those commitment letters. It's the way we got to it was, we do a spring parent meeting every year anyway. And all these kids and their parents were going to be sitting in the auditorium. So we figured, well, why don't we do a fun thing? I steal all this stuff too. I saw somebody do this at some point, but they did it as like for their incoming freshmen. They just did a signing day. And I thought, well, number one, I think it sort of sends the wrong message. I mean, we don't recruit or we don't have kids sign whatever, but I think they could commit, with their signature, they could commit to the things that we're going to be asking of them. So really with the parents, I give them a abbreviated version of the box top and the puzzle deal. And then we jump into this. We've made it fun where we get with the kids ahead of time. We get their height and their weight and what they want to do after high school. And we get we get walk-up music. So when Lapke gets announced, his picture's up on the screen, all his height and weight and his name, and the walk-up song that he picked, school appropriate obviously, gets played as he's coming up. And so the kids have fun with it. Parents think it's awesome, like it's this insane thing. But I'm telling you, Coach Hager and I mean, we put a little work into it, but it's not it's nothing crazy. Strength camp is really important to us. Winter stations are important. Summer workouts are important. Those Titan League competitions on Thursdays are fun and important and a good end of the week. Here's Will Swanson dunking on Ryan Wellman for Powerball. This last year we did a game day lift as opposed to, usually on game day we'd bring the kids in, we watch video and be a sort of sluggish start to the day. But this was, I felt, and the kids felt it was a good deal. So that's our strength and condition stuff. Community stuff, we get kids in the Papillion Days Parade. We were asked to put on a summer school youth camp at La Vista West last year. It was a big hit. Girls and boys, and I think half of those kids were Monarch kids anyway, but it was hot. I mean, it could have been bad, but our kids and our coaches had really good attitudes about it, and we were told that this was the best one that they ever did. They used to go through the other high school coaches and kids used to run it, and they didn't really give the same kind of attitude and effort that we gave, and it was really good. So for our community, doing stuff like that, I think is important. I don't think I put it on here, but we send out those holiday cards, and that thing just gets bigger and bigger every year. Now we're sending them to the mayor and the city council and the school board and stuff. And I try to paint this town as blue as possible. And I'm not going to apologize about that. Until they tell me stop, that's what we're going to keep doing. Heroes Challenge is cool. Talked about teacher of the game. We try to help out with unified stuff as much as we can. Anytime we're asked to do a fun run support, we're there. So community relations, I think that stuff is part of the job. And I think it's important. This next stuff sort of X's and O's I'll skip over. And then we can just get into the core values. So I can send this to you guys and you can look through it, but I have the kids rate themselves on, and I spell it out. I define, and we always try to do this, but I am a trustworthy teammate. People in the program can trust me to do the right things in school, in the community, on the football field, and they rank themselves. And coaches can see all this stuff, and we can have those conversations. If we disagree or if they need improvement, different places, but they can do all this stuff on their phone. I think that's good, and it gives us immediate results. It gives us graphs and pie charts and stuff like that. So these surveys like this, they've definitely helped me. We don't make huge changes every year, but we definitely make tweaks. And as head coach, I want to, if something's not working or if something's lame or if nobody likes something, we can change. We can, or, if it's not working, if it's not being effective, we're not too stubborn just to keep doing it. So.
Thanks for sharing, Coach. My first question is, did you get a graphic design undergraduate degree?
No, I did not. I got the same master's degree from the Peru State College as Mr. Cooley and Mr. Spilker. The three of us as young teachers.
You put me that in there too.
You said what?
I said you can put me in that category as well. I have a Peru State master's degree.
Yeah, okay. So it was emphasis in instructional technology or something. So, I answered obviously no. Growing up, we didn't have a computer in the house. We didn't have a Nintendo or none of that stuff. So all this technology stuff, I think maybe that I didn't get into it till I started teaching really. And I think that just because of all that stuff piqued my curiosity. So I just spent more time with it, I guess, because I didn't grow up around it.
All right. Anybody got any questions for Coach Clemenger?
Yeah, Clem.
Yo.
We talked to us a little bit about your in-home stuff, and I know you've mentioned it before and things like that. But you mentioned that you didn't spend a lot of time, a ton of time at each house, and nobody probably could. But what kinds of things did you do with that?
Yeah. So I would print off a physical copy of this program manual and bring a copy for the family. I set it up on that online deal where the parents can sign up Genius or something like that.
Okay. Right.
So what I did, I looked at my personal calendar and my responsibilities, and I'll be dead honest, man. My wife and I, we don't have kids, and we don't, so my time slots are a lot more flexible and open than maybe some people. But I just looked at my calendar and I put on all the times that I was open. I try to keep it consistent on, so I would usually do like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And I would put chunks of time that I was available, and parents could sign up and say, okay, on Tuesday at 6 p.m., Coach Clem's coming over. So I have all their addresses, and I just drive over there. Papillion's a small town. And I'd get there right on time. I wouldn't get there early. I wouldn't get there late. And we'd come, and I would tell them up front, for them and a little bit for me, I guess, because I got to get to the next meeting, but 15 to 30 minutes. And every once in a while I'd get somebody around, that would push that. But if it started getting long, I'd just say, hey, either I got another meeting I got to get to, or I got to get going somewhere else. But 15 to 30 minutes, I think, is a good window. Some of them were shorter than that. Some were 8 or 9 minutes, I guess. But did I flip through this whole thing, 76 pages? Absolutely not. I did it more where I'm leaving this with them. My main objectives is there's a few objectives. Main objective is to put a face to a name for them and me. It goes back to that bridge. I just wanted a really solid bridge between those parents and me, and vice versa. I don't want, if they got an issue or a question, I don't want them to have their phone in their hand and be debating, man, gosh, should I call Coach Clem about this? I want them not even to think, be like, well, yeah, he sat on my couch. He's a good guy. We talked to him. Yeah, I'm going to give him a call. And I want to be the same way on the other side. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll think, gosh, man, I got a problem going on with this kid, or he's being a knucklehead in class. Should I reach out? Well, I don't even know what his parents look like. I've never really talked to him before. And I guess our program is very big. So in our program that could happen, where if I didn't do stuff like this, I could go 3 years, sort of like teaching class. If you got 115 kids in your classes, you might not see some parents. So face to a name, breaking down barriers, building bridges. A couple other objectives is seeing who wears the pants in the family. That's just it's a good piece of information. Every family is different. Sometimes it's dad who calls the shots. Sometimes it's mom that calls the shots. Sometimes it's stepdad. Sometimes there is no stepdad. Sometimes, unfortunately, the kid calls the shots. I've been in a couple of these things where I was shocked that how the kid was treating the parents, and I'm just put me in a weird spot. Another thing is, socioeconomics too. Like there's some kids I would have absolutely no idea what kind of background they're coming from, socioeconomically until I physically sat down in their living room. And again, that's just more information. But if a kid and a family is like really struggling with that stuff, it just paints a clearer picture for me, I guess. Couple other things, I guess it goes a long ways with the kid especially if the kid's a knucklehead, if the head coach and the parents are on the same page and sitting down at the kitchen table. Sometimes I see it in the kids' eyes like, oh crap, man, I have nowhere to hide now, because I can't BS the coach that my parents are one way, and I can't BS my parents that Coach Clem's being one way. So it just gets us all on the same page, I think. And at the end of the day, I think 99% of the time, the families like this gesture and they think it's really cool, or it's a really like, to me, it's not that big a deal. I mean, I'm from this area. I know how to get anywhere in this town in 7 minutes. So I could hop over there, no problem. But so many people are like, oh, I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're coming over and you're sitting down and having, and to me, it's a no brainer for all those reasons that I just got done talking about. So I don't know if that sort of answered your question. To me, I think it's building that bridge, and it's a quote I threw out a meeting or two ago. It's about that JFK quote when he said, the best time to build a hole in the roof is when the sun is shining. So when I would do these meetings, it would be in the spring or summer, not in the season. So playing time was not an issue, in March or April. Problems with coaches button heads, that wasn't an issue. So if I can sort of extend the handshake first and sit down with them and prove, hey, we actually care about your kid and we have a plan, and here's our plan, and this is going to help him and all that stuff. I hope and I think it'll eliminate the group of dads in the stands who are second guessing our fourth down call or how come Johnny's not playing or whatever. They might still do that, I guess, but I would hope it's harder because, dude, I sat on your couch and you could ask me any question you wanted. We're on the same page. We shook hands. We feel good about this thing. And if you do have a question about Johnny's playing time or any of that stuff, I don't know. Again, pick up the phone and we'll have that conversation. So just trying to eliminate barriers, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Coach Clem?
I did not plan on talking for 45 minutes. I promise.
None of us ever do. We just know it's going to happen. I'm just curious what your opinion right now, what's your biggest challenge that you face as a head football coach with regards to your program as a whole?
Probably our number one core value, trust. I mean, you're putting a bunch of trust into 145 14 through 17-year-olds that they're doing the right thing. They're lifting, they're eating the right way, they're doing all that stuff. So I got that whole trust concept. Yeah, it's hard. Trust is hard for me individually. So I don't know. It's a whole nother conversation, I guess, with that core value to where sometimes I need to do a better job with that. If I'm going to want other people to trust and trust the process and all that stuff, we got to do that too. So the first part of the quarantine, I was very much hands off and just sort of trusting that the kids are doing things and I wasn't freaking out, being overbearing. But the longer we go in this thing, the longer, and the closer we get to a possible summer or whatever, I think we're starting to, football wise, we're starting to get more into tightening the screws a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Coach Clem.
There it is.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm the contrarian of the group. So do you ever feel like you've made this too big? Like I was even just looking at your that evaluation at the end. It was 14 sections long. That was just that's amazing to me. So do you ever feel like you've put a ton of time in, your thought process is unbelievable. Do you ever feel like you've made the monster too big outside of football?
I never think in those terms, I guess. I always think when our coaches come with an idea or a thought or a suggestion, my first question back to them is, does it give us anything? Does it help us? And if it helps us, then yeah, we should go down that road and we should think about it. And if it doesn't help us, then, I mean, let's stop talking about it and waste time on it. So I always sort of start there, that if I think it helps us, then it's something that I want to do. Another thing I do, I know we always need to sort of focus on ourselves first and not always look at what everybody else is doing. But I think part of, at least for me, part of coaching and leadership and stuff is looking at what the great ones do and stealing ideas and stealing things that work and that we feel could work for us. So there's plenty of times that we go to clinics and stuff, and there's a great idea of a play or of something with their mentoring system that I just think, no, I think that's too much, or we don't need to do. But if I do hear of something that I'm like, man, I think this would go a long ways with our kids and our parents and families and stuff, then it would be something that I would implement. So, so I guess, I think to answer your question, I think it's a big deal, but it's something that has been built over time, and it's not something that we just try to cram in all at once. And it's just sort of a month by month, and this is what we do. I've been on the other side of it where we don't do as much, and just feels like we lose our kids, and our kids, I don't know. So I would say the vast majority of our guys would rather be plugged into their teammates and stuff as much as possible. And so that's why we do a lot of this stuff.
What percentage of your job do you feel like you're a coach or you are a CEO? So like what percentage of your job are you the CEO and you're not really directly tied to coaching?
It changes. I wish it could get more defined, but it's not, because there's times where that's a great question. It changes every year too with my coaching career, I grew up on the defensive side of the ball. So that's where I gravitate. So I was defense coordinator for a long time and so when I came here, I was defense coordinator, took over head coach. I remained the defense coordinator. So 2 years ago, I think we brought on Dale Walker, and he took the defense. Well, I told you trust is hard for me. So just to completely hand that over to him, it was no reflection on him. It was just that passing that torch was difficult. And I think we've gotten to a point now where it's a lot better, and I can take a step away and I can be more of that CEO type. But so I don't know, I think, yeah, on a day-to-day basis, yeah, you'll see me with my fingers in the minutia of stance and how a kid, what his technique is on this stunt or this play or all that stuff. So I hope I never ever get away from that stuff. There's some, at the way top Division I level, a lot of those head coaches, they don't coach at all. They fundraise and they meet with the president and AD and stuff. And, no, I don't want to do that by any means. But I think just the nature of this stuff, yeah, I think I have to be both. I hear what you're saying, and I'm always, believe it or not, thinking of it. Sometimes it does feel like, I don't know, we got a lot going on, and if it's not effective or if it's diminishing our return in other areas, then it's something that we do need to do need to eliminate or pare down or something like that.
All right. Any other questions at all? I applaud you guys that have to be CEO majority of the time. That's why I had to step down from the head track job. It was that's not my personality. So I appreciate you guys that can find better and balance in that than I did. All right, well, let's finish today. I sent out some notes that I had typed up. It's a jumbled mess because that's how my mind operates to begin with. So I'll just pop my screen up here real quick with those notes about the Titan Athletic Development Academy. Make this bigger here. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything on this that we had talked about last time. So I kind of went in and added in a little bit. So we had talked about 6-week sessions and trying to avoid the 4th of July, Thanksgiving and New Year. So I sat down and looked ahead at the 2021 calendar, because if we start things in January, so I kind of began around July 4th and then worked back towards January 1st and then worked ahead towards Christmas and Thanksgiving. So if we just went with 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off, these are kind of what our dates fell around. It actually worked out pretty well with when our spring break is set. One of our breaks would fall over spring break, which is probably a good thing. And so that's just what 5 sessions would look like over the course of the year with things from there. So and I just threw some notes down about just cost and some money conversations that we had, a little bit about our target, kind of talk a little bit about our why, and then just some session details. So again, this is just my capturing. That's why at the top it says it's an extremely rough draft of our conversation up to this point. And this would by no means be a document that we'd want to put in front of major stakeholders, but hopefully it gives us something that we can build off of to begin with. So just curious if anybody picked up anything that I missed or noticed anything that I had missed in our conversations.
I think it looks good. One of the comments I'd look at there is that, and this is just on the time frame part of it, that July 11th to August 21st. That's probably not one we necessarily want to mess with, just because that last part of July, I see this in softball all the time. It's like a lot of people try to take vacations at that time, and maybe hit the first part of August, like as soon as school starts, run a session there, and then maybe a little bit into October to get that, or later into October to get that 5th session in.
So play it like putting a bigger break in between sessions 3 and 4.
Yeah, just basically giving them almost all of July off, really.
Yeah.
A lot of people get done with sports at that time, and softball gets done. Everybody spreads to the wind before school starts.
That'd probably work out well, because then we could push a little bit closer, a little bit deeper into the fall than we are right now. I mean, if we took a 2-week break off after October 16th, then we start messing around with that next session would then push into.
Well, it'd run you to the end of October, wouldn't it? Like if we started the 1st of August, you'd get done a little bit like mid-September, and then 2 weeks off, and then be done. It'd be done right before Halloween, basically. I think price-wise, this is really good. $50 for 6 weeks, right? 2 days a week.
Just kind of scroll through here a little bit slower. You hadn't had a chance to look at it yet.
I could be wrong, but maybe we talked about, and if I am wrong, let me know. We talked about maybe starting with third graders, and if so, I don't have a third grader in my house. You guys, parents, do. Could third graders handle this thing? I know we have third graders at our youth camps and stuff, and they're little, but you know they do okay. What do you guys think about third graders? I know it's not all about the money, but like if we have good paying customers that would want to bring their third grader up, would there be a problem with that, I guess?
I think we could. I think third grade would be a good one. Why did we stop at sixth grade? Was that because of middle school sports?
Yeah, we talked about competing with middle school sports.
Right.
Which, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem offering it because you might have some kids who, I mean, I think we would want to communicate again. We're not looking to compete with you in season, but if you have an off season, you know, and it lines up with because all the junior high sports are on that quarter system. So we just have to look and see how well our sessions hit in terms of the quarters of the school year.
Well, and they are done at 5:30 in the evening, right? I mean, games and practices and everything. So like if it doesn't start till 6, if people want to come during season, they can. I mean, Lord knows there's crazy parents out there.
I don't think we necessarily need to fuel their fire to be crazy, though.
Nah, we don't need to fill it, but if we give them the option, like Coach said, it's not necessarily about money making, but you know, who am I to say a kid can't take every opportunity to work out?
I would say definitely with the idea of off season. You know, if you got I hope we don't have too many one sport 7th and 8th graders. You know, we want them to be involved in multiple things. But if they are only involved in one, maybe 2 sports, and they want to jump into this, I could see them doing it.
Well, if they're only involved in 2 sports, they'd have 2 quarters of the year that are their off season, just the way their sports calendar works. So
Plus the summer, right?
yeah, plus the summer. Yep.
I think you'd get a lot of 7th and 8th graders in the summer. I mean, I know baseball is going on, but
I keep trying to scroll your screen here, Coach.
Tell me to go down.
would in the summer, so like for us, I'm not sure about everybody else, but like we usually run our youth camp that first part of June or the last week of April actually, or May, sorry. Is that something like does everybody do their youth stuff in July? Would that like, and maybe this is jumping way ahead. Maybe we need to get this schedule set and then everybody can build their youth stuff around what this is. Does that make more sense, I guess?
Well, maybe I think your thought makes sense there because I wouldn't want to do anything where you're competing with or taking time slots away from our summer youth camps, because I think for a lot of programs, that's a big moneymaker for their program. And it's a good way to invest in your sport specifically. You know, and if we have something running in the evening, that takes out a camp time potentially.
Well, so that was my other question. In the summer, would they still run evening hours? Reason being is like I might be able to get a youth kid to come to a 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning session because they're out of school, but they've got league softball on Tuesday nights. And so, you know what I mean? Like, would we keep the same 6 p.m. or just thoughts?
That's a good question. I lost my train of thought what I was going to add with that next line. So I'm just going to leave the dot, dot, dots there, and maybe they'll come back to me. I think, did I share this with you? I think I included this in an email, didn't I? Earlier. So I'd just say keep thinking through this, and probably we'll let the administration get through all the craziness at the end of the school year that they're dealing with right now. But maybe early summer, it'd be a great time to sit down with a few of us and some of them and just let them know what we're thinking and getting that conversation started. And like Coach Clem said last time, getting their support behind that. So, which gives us time before then to take this extremely rough draft and make it look something much more. We'll put Coach Clemenger's graphic art skills to use. And so.
Hey, off topic, but did you guys just get the email about the Nebraska Coaches Association canceling the clinic this summer?
Did they really?
Yeah, they pushed it. They canceled this summer, and they announced dates for the following summer, July 26th, 2021.
Gotcha. That was a big one because they were the hosts of the national convention this year too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What do you guys, real quick, and this is, I don't know, out there, but what are you guys' thoughts on this whole thing over the summer? Like, I really do keep telling my wife I've bought into the fictitious June 1st, everything's going to go back to normal thing. And then I start thinking about what a softball tournament entails of 1,000 people sitting there on a Saturday watching softball, and there's just no way that's going to happen. Yeah, I talked to VA a little bit the other day too, and he said, June 1 to be prepared for small group work. Think about nine players and one coach and what that's going to look like and whatever else. I talked to a Legion coach this morning, and he said Legion has canceled their state and national tournaments, but that they're looking at an abbreviated season with no fans. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys are thinking. I know football, volleyball, cross country. I mean, we're all, in fact, I had a senior meeting right before I came to this one, and I asked them how workouts were going, and they, some were like, yeah, I'm doing them. Some were like, yeah, I'm not. And I had two that are like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I don't know, man. What are you guys thinking about this summer thing? Or is it just still too many question marks? Yeah.
I guess the plans that I'm making right now with our cross country team is I'm planning on us not being together until the end of July. So as I approach, my mindset is just that's kind of how I'm thinking. That's kind of how I'm organizing. And the reason why that is not I'm being pessimistic or anything. I just think in my own mind, it's if it happens sooner, it's going to be way easier for me to revert back than it is for me to be thinking ahead in that. So as I kind of game plan, that's the angle and approach that I'm taking.
Well, like I asked VA, like we have a team camp June 8th, Miller's House team camp, June 8th and 9th, and kids are supposed to be playing, and USA and USSSA is all saying they're going to start June 1st with basically no practice. They're just, if there's a tournament scheduled June whatever 2nd, that they're just going to freaking hold the tournament. Trying to figure out what our team camps are going to look like in July and all that kind of stuff and where we're going to go from there. I mean, I know my pitchers are throwing. They have to send me video. But I just didn't know what anybody else is thinking, or, especially the fall guys, I
think part of all this conversation too is at some point things are going to get opened up slightly, but to Coach Pullman's point kind of at the beginning, what does that look like? How many can you bring in? And when you think about how many fall sport athletes there are, I mean, that's going to be a big beast to manage.
Well, it's going to be a 24-hour deal too, right? I mean, we're not going to be able to get our whole team in there in 1 hour. It's going to be spread out over 16 hours to get everybody in. I don't know.
Well, and I'm making plans just to. My sport has a lot more flexibility than your guys' sports do. We can do pretty much everything that we need to away from a school. Yeah, it'd be nice to be in a weight room, but we can make alternative plans to work around that. So on the girls cross country side, we'll find someplace else to go so that you people who need you need to be in a building and we don't. So we'll not be a kink in all of this. So not that that's a ton of kids that you pull out, but
I think when it happens, well, if it happens, if it gets to that point where we can only have so many, it's just going to be a huge sign up and basically saying who's going to cover this time. I mean, I'm not going to be up there 16, 20 hours during the day. It'd be great, but there's no way. So there's going to have to be somebody just there, one coach, whatever that may be, and just saying we're going to take these people. Now, there's some groups that might work out well. If girls basketball, boys basketball has, 10 that are going to show up, 9 that are going to show up, that works out great. Unfortunately for Clem, you got 100, and that's a big difference. So that's where you're going to have to split them up a lot more. I was, Coach Young was on this too last night talking to volleyball coaches. What's going to be done for the incoming freshmen? And, we talked about possibly having to do maybe some sort of Zoom workout of some type for them just to get body weight stuff, whatever that may be. It's up in the air. And I mean, if anybody's got any suggestions, I'm open to them. But if that's something we have to do, I can keep doing YouTube stuff, just showing the workouts, whatever. But that's something that, being on this meeting right now, something if we can just start thinking about, talking about amongst your, wherever you have your individual team meetings, whatever that may be, on what you guys want to do. I'm open to whatever. So keep that in mind. Also, since I have a lot of you on here, as I look through who's doing all the workouts, same people are kind of doing them all. That's great, but there is a load. And I think Coach Horton was talking about who was doing them, who wasn't doing them. If it has to be coming from you guys as coaches to them, I can give you a rundown really easily of percentages of each team that are getting most of their stuff done and who is doing stuff, who's not doing anything. If you want that and you want to send something out, because we can't know, and Coach Clem was talking about trust and trusting them to do it. Are they doing it? I'd like to feel like they are in one capacity or another, but if I go off just what they record, it's okay at best. I'd like to see more. There's actually teams that are actually getting absolutely 0% participation right now, at least according to their, according to the app, according to the reports that I run. So.
One thing that frustrated me, Coach H brought it up at the very beginning, was the youth camp proclamation. And I guess I'll just leave it at, it's frustrating to me when people start throwing around the word canceled as opposed to suspended. To me, canceled means it's canceled. It's not going to be made up, or there's no, and the decision makers just with a broad stroke just say, okay, well, it's canceled all summer. Well, here it is. It's April 28th, and those decisions are made. Our youth camp isn't until July 15th, July 16th, July 17th. Like, if they know that things are going to be so bad at that time, then they need to, I guess, tell us. But if they don't know, maybe use different rhetoric and say, you know what, things will probably be suspended, right? You know, so I don't know. That was when that got brought up on Friday. That was my first reaction of, you know, I'm not naive. I know there's a big possibility that it could be canceled, but here in April, declaring that no youth stuff at all this summer, if they're making those proclamations, then things look pretty dire for fall sports and all the rest of it. But if people say, oh no, don't jump to conclusions, well, I don't know, just sort of seemed a little heavy-handed, I guess.
Well, and I just keep feeling like youth sports are going to be able to do more. I feel like we're just, because we're attached to the school, and if it's school function, then the liability piece of it, and we can't be held responsible for all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like city parks are starting to open up May 4th. Well, you know, that means kids can get out and do a little bit more work or whatever, but we still can't get onto our facilities to do anything because the school's shut down. And I don't know. You're right. It's frustrating. I got that same message, and I'm already making plans, I suppose, to do youth camps right after OPS home games, or Saturday, the one Saturday I have open all season, probably throw a youth camp in there or something like that. But, and that's a chunk of our fundraising. I know you guys, you probably make a heck of a lot more money than us, but percentage wise, it's a nice little chunk that we count on every year.
I hate to be a jerk, and I got to be careful using school computer on a school Zoom call, but you're exactly right with the fundraising. So if that fundraising is eliminated, then my first reaction is put my hand out to the district, be like, all right, well, we budgeted this money. These coaches, we're paying for a couple of our coaches through this stuff. So since we can't do it, you're going to help us with this, right? If they turn their back and say no, then what are we going to do? If there's a silver lining or whatever, so I was explaining this to the bosses, and I asked, I said, man, this is so far out in advance. I said, what if late June, July, things are, we don't know how this is going to go, but let's say Omaha West Side and the Bellevue schools and those guys are having youth camps. Well, right away the bosses are like, oh, well then, we'll be able to have youth camps too. They'll backtrack that. I said, okay. I said, I hope so.
Hey, so I asked that question. So this is a district policy. This isn't a state policy.
Right. Absolutely.
See, I didn't get an answer on that.
I'm going to shut up. I'm going to hit
No, it's okay. I asked him if this was a district thing or if this was what everybody was doing or whatever. So that's interesting to know. I don't know. I just, and I know, and I think probably my biggest frustration and a lot of you guys are feeling is that we plan stuff and we plan it 6 months out or a year out, or, I'm with you. I've got a calendar. It's got everything down on it, and probably getting frustrated living week to week, day to day right now. And, so anyways, sorry about the downer. Didn't mean to end this whole thing that way. I really do enjoy these meetings. In fact, I'm starting next Monday. I'm starting my first PGM with my team, 8 a.m. Well, they were excited about an 8 a.m. Zoom call, but I told them, I said, hey, thank God it's Monday. We're going to win the week. Let's go. So.
Well, I think your question is a valid one, and I think that's one advantage we have with have these times set up is there are going to be conversations that have to happen. These are things we're going to need to talk about, and we've got a platform ready to go to do that. So I think starting just collectively to just throw different ideas out there would be a good thing. Like Coach Pullman asked, is just I haven't had time to wrap my mind around it yet, but we'll come up with something. We're a creative group of people. So, all right. Anybody got anything else for the good of the cause today?
Here's my bi-weekly check-in with Coach G. What's up, man?
Just living the dream here. Just got pages of notes, listening to you talk. So
I'm
my day's complete.
trying not to use profanity on this Zoom call here.
My day's complete.
I have one question for Coach Heiser. In the history of the Titan boys basketball player, who would be the Dennis Rodman of the Titan boys basketball program?